Hi, Mary Mealy again, and I'm here to talk to you today about focus and meditation and how you can use it to improve your GRE score. So before I start, I want to really talk to you about why would you want to have focus and meditation as part of your GRE study plans. And the answer is really simple. It's because it improves your brain's ability to actually function and to work as you need it to really ace this exam. So let me actually give you a little synopsis of what's going on in your brain when you enter the testing situation. So as you know, the testing situation is going to cause you some stress. Perhaps you've been in a testing situation before where you haven't performed as well as you wanted to. And the sensory input comes into the brain before you even know it. That's what you see, what you hear, maybe even what you smell or what you feel as you walk into the room. And that input goes directly to the thalamus, which breaks down the incoming stimuli. It then goes to the cortex, which gives meaning to the sensory input. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for turning off the anxiety response once the threat has passed. But before that even happens, the amygdala is triggered and there is a fear response that is given throughout your body, and you're going to have an emotional consequence. From there, you have the bed nucleus of the stria terminalis, which perpetuates the fear response and causes this uneasy feeling, and perhaps you have some sweating and rapid heartbeat that happens in this very moment, again, before you're realizing that it's even happening. The C locus coeruleus causes this rapid heartbeat to continue and increased blood pressure, sweating, and pupil dilation, which then transfers to the hippocampus and the hypothalamus, which is a memory center. And this is where we have our memories of these kinds of experiences. And when we are in this space, it is very hard for us to pull the information from our brain that we have worked so hard to study. So it is of utmost importance that we learn ways to focus and to meditate so that we can combat what is happening in the brain. So how do we do this? Well, we have to have a plan before it even begins, because as part of your test preparation, you have to make sure that you have a focus and meditation strategy. This is something you can put in place formally and also practice on a daily basis throughout your preparation. Believe me, it will actually improve your results tremendously. So what do I mean by this plan? Well, what I mean is that you should take a few moments to write down some of the mindfulness techniques that I'm going to talk to you right now. I want to make sure that you leave this session with a couple of key strategies that you can learn and put together as part of your test preparation process. The first strategy I'm going to talk to you about is breathing. So we are always moving and we are always breathing, but we are not always breathing properly, and we are not always taking the time to notice how we are breathing. So if you can do something for yourself today, it is to pay attention to how you are breathing and take a moment to breathe with mindfulness in mind. So that means breathing in and then breathing out, and really paying attention to the breath that is coming in and coming out, and really slowing your body and your mind down, paying attention to the thoughts that are happening in your mind right now. And we have a lot of thoughts that are going on around test preparation and testing, right? So there's going to be different kinds of thoughts running through your mind. Perhaps you think you're not a good test taker, so you're in your mind, there's something running through there that's saying, I can't take this test. And there's maybe something else running through your mind that's saying, this is going to be really painful, this is going to be very hard. So we want to pay attention to the negative thoughts that we're having around the experience and try very hard to be aware of them, perhaps name them as negative and make them, sort of disappear, and have other thoughts come into our minds. Maybe we're also thinking about the other things that we have to do during this process. Perhaps we have a job and a family, and we have responsibilities that are occupying our mind as we're starting to study, as we're starting to take the test. So we want to notice when those thoughts are coming into our minds, name them, and let them, again, pass by. Let's also take a practice. The second technique is let's take a practice to bring in positive thoughts around the testing process. So what are some positive thoughts that you can have and continue to develop and hone and practice throughout this test preparation process? Perhaps you can say, I can take this test well. I can show what I know. I have spent time learning this material. I am going to perform at my best today. These are the types of thoughts that you can put into your mind, which are going to replace perhaps those negative thoughts that you're having, or perhaps you're having thoughts about, again, your other responsibilities that you have outside of your life. Whatever those thoughts are that are not productive to your ability to ace this test, those are the thoughts that you want to name as negative: family, financial, children, job, boyfriend, girlfriend. Put them aside and replace them with positive thoughts around your testing experience. The third strategy I want to have you practice is a routine that you establish for yourself before every single test preparation session that you have, before you get into the test. Go through set aside a time to actually create a routine for yourself before this process. So a typical routine could look like this. I'm going to breathe. So I'm going to breathe in and out a few times, right? And then I'm going to perhaps think of something happy, think of something joyful, think of something that makes me smile, because we know also that when we do these kinds of things, our brain has less of a chance to become anxious. And then perhaps the next step is to think about a positive comment or a positive mantra that I will repeat for myself. I can perform well on this test. I have studied. I am going to show all that I know. So something very positive that I'm going to repeat to myself as I study. So the very last strategy that I want you to focus on is to try very hard to block out the noise. So by noise, I mean the expectations that perhaps you have around this test in regards to admission to a particular school, or for a particular score that you're trying to get for a admission to a particular program. Try very hard as you focus on preparing for this test to do just that. Put your time and energy into the process of preparing instead of thinking about what could happen based on this process. So the more that you can actually focus and use meditation and all of these kinds of tactics to give your 100% attention to the material, the better you are going to perform on your GRE.